So are we ready? Right? You, and you come over here. And you, and you, and you, and you come over here. I really don't want you to get up. But welcome to Jesus' surprise party. Are we ready for this? Not always sure. This gospel is eye-opening. It's very cut and dry. We're either sheep or we're goats. One of my favorites. And we know what it takes to become a sheep. We're told that. To get to heaven, to get to the kingdom, we must care for those in need. The hungry, the sick, the forgotten. We must care for them as if they were our brothers or sisters. Formula's pretty simple. As Father said, today we celebrate the last Sunday of our liturgical year, the feast of Christ the King. And we all know what we see when we think of king, right? We think of that. We think of power and might and authority. We might imagine long flowing robes and big thrones and crowns of gold. But Matthew, in that gospel, gives us a different perspective of a king. And there's even scripture in Isaiah that talks about he will use the heavens as his throne and the earth as his footstool. Imagine that. But Jesus doesn't come across like that. You know, the original function or job of a king was really to take care of the people in his kingdom who could not take care of themselves. Those who were in need. And Jesus did just that. Think about it. In his humanity, Jesus came down and he encountered and he acted with those who were in need. The poor, the sick, the forgotten, those who thirst for what was right. It was his humanity that showed us the way to do this. Of course, now over the last couple of weeks, the Gospels have been preparing us for the coming of the kingdom, the coming of the kingdom. Well, here it is. Today we hear about Judgment Day. Judgment Day. I don't think Eric realizes he's on. We'll give him a minute. So anyhow, as we're looking at this judgment day, this isn't a gospel that corrects us or chastises us. This is really a gospel of hope. Hope in God. It was like the first reading. 11 times we heard God say, I will. I will comfort you. I will care for you. I will rescue you. That's what this gospel tells us today. It is asking us two simple questions. Think about these. What is your attitude of heart? What is your model of life? In other words, what is our focus? Our attitude of heart. Remember when I was in the 4th or 5th grade, it was back in that time, I had a friend, Ricky, who lived down the street, and actually he was a class behind me. Now, as those who lived it know, in the 60s, every boy's name ended in a Y. You know, you had Ricky and Billy and Jimmy and Joey and Timmy. Anyhow, as we went in school, we were at school together. I remember it was right around October, November, Ricky had come home from school, and he started getting in a little bit of trouble at home. Now, of course, in those days, our classroom, we did everything in one classroom. We didn't change rooms, and we even ate our lunch at our desks in those little metal lunch boxes, you know, and we had a cloakroom in the classroom right then and there. But anyhow, Ricky was coming home from school, and one day he had asked his mom, "Mom, I'm a little hungry. Could I have a snack?" And she looked at him. She knew this was unusual. She said, "Didn't you eat your lunch?" And he said, "Well, some of it." So she gave him a snack. Well, a couple of days later, Ricky came home from school, and he was missing his brand new gloves. And his mom says, "Ricky, where are your gloves? We just got them. It's cold outside." And he said, "They must have fell out of my pocket in the cloakroom or on the floor. I'm not sure, Mom." Well, this continued for a couple of weeks. He'd come home missing a scarf. He'd come home missing a hat. And every now and then, he wanted a little snack. Finally, Mom got tired of it, and she decided that she was going to meet with Ricky and his teacher after school. This was a day there were no emails. Parents actually had to go to school and meet with the teachers. So they sat down with Ricky, and he said, "I've been giving them to Billy." And his mom and the teacher were surprised. And he said, "Well, at Halloween, Billy came to school, and he had no costume, he had no candy. And we found out that his dad had just lost his job. And so he had been coming to school. They couldn't afford lunch all the time. They couldn't afford the things for his winter clothing. So I wanted to give him something. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to get him or me in trouble." We need to visit the sick. We need to work in a soup kitchen or a home like that. We need to build houses for the homeless. This is the attitude of heart. This is the model of life that Jesus was looking for. Reaching heaven isn't about authority and rules. It isn't about fear of punishment from God or retribution from God. It isn't about the type of religion we practice or the devotions we follow. Yes, those things help. But reaching heaven, getting there, is about how we execute the works of mercy. The works of mercy. Where is our compassion? Where is our helping hand? Is it a natural instinct? Is it a desire? My friend Ricky had that instinct. And we have it too, if it's in our attitude of heart. So if we look back at the last week, would we be a sheep or a goat? The good thing is, we're not in our judgment day yet. So we have time to have more experiences as a sheep than as a goat. You know, Christ is present to those in need when they are preached the gospel through the actions of those who believe, through our actions. So today on this feast of Christ the King, as we come to this altar to share in the word and the sacrament, let us ask God to continue to pour into our hearts that attitude of mercy and justice, that same attitude that Jesus died to show us.